hear the phrase business automation, I feel like the mind instantly jumps to a pristine factory assembly line.
Oh, absolutely. Like robot arms.
Right. You program a robotic arm, it stamps out a widget, and every single widget is just perfectly identical.
It's super clean.
Clean, binary, highly predictable. And, I mean, the business world loves that level of uniformity because it usually scales effortlessly.
Yeah.
But right, you drop that exact same expectation into the multi-location franchise space, and, well, that perfect assembly line suddenly becomes a massive liability.
It really does. It falls apart.
You are looking at an environment where total uniformity actually destroys your connection with the customer. That is, if you aren't incredibly careful.
Right.
So, welcome to today's deep dive. I'm just thrilled you're joining us because if you are managing business tactics or looking for strategy tips or honestly just trying to navigate the massive technological trends reshaping how multi-location companies operate, today's focus is essential.
Yeah, it's a big one. We are diving into how multi-location franchise systems can harness artificial intelligence without, losing their brand soul in the process.
Which is the tricky part.
It is. And speaking of navigating those tricky marketing challenges, my BFF Social, who you can find at www.myBFFsocial.com, is actually sponsoring today's deep dive.
Awesome.
Yeah, they are the premier experts in helping growth stage brands tackle the exact media and advertising hurdles we are unpacking today.
And, looking at the data we've pulled together for this.
Yeah, let's get into the sources.
Right. So we've got insights from the International Franchise Association, plus that heavily discussed industry article titled Oh, the Humanity, and some really recent research on Agentic AI.
Oh, Agentic AI, yeah. We'll get to that.
We will.
Yeah.
But a very clear baseline emerges right away. The brands that are currently dominating their markets with AI, they're deliberately rejecting the whole set-it-and-forget-it algorithm approach.
They aren't just putting it on autopilot.
Exactly. They are pairing advanced automated tools with localized market intelligence. Well, I think we should jump straight into the friction point here. Because anyone listening who works in multi-location marketing, they already know that running campaigns for, say, 500 different locations.
It's a nightmare.
Right. It's effectively managing 500 entirely different data sets, just disguised as local storefronts.
That's a great way to put it.
Standard, centralized marketing advice completely falls apart here. You have this constant tension. You need to sound like the massive national brand, but you also have to resonate with the hyper-local reality of, like, one specific zip code.
Yeah, you are managing a paradox, basically. Corporate needs every single location to uphold strict brand voice guidelines, visual standards, compliance rules.
Right, the legal stuff.
All of it. But the local operator, they need to talk about the road closure on Main Street or, I don't know, the high school football game happening Friday night.
And when a franchise tries to inject that local relevance manually, they hit a severe time constraint.
Oh, massive.
The text we're analyzing points out a fundamental reality, and it's so true. Franchisees are operators, not marketers.
Right.
They are managing supply chains, they're handling employee turnover, they're repairing deep fryers.
Yeah, they're busy running the actual business.
Exactly. Crafting highly engaging, brand-compliant social copy. That falls to the absolute bottom of the priority list. Not because they don't care, but because operational fires just take precedence.
Which brings us to the actual promise of AI in this environment.
Right.
It is not about generating brilliant, award-winning, creative concepts from scratch. That's a misconception.
Oh, totally.
It is about stripping out the manual, repetitive labor. Generative AI allows a central corporate team to design one core campaign concept, and then the system instantly spins that out into hundreds of localized variations. Yeah, it adjusts the copy for different platforms, inserts the correct local store hours, updates regional pricing, and applies the local SEO keywords, and it does all of that in seconds.
But what does that actually look like for the bottom line?
Well, the cost reduction metrics on this are striking. A hybrid approach utilizing AI for the heavy lifting of drafting and localization, and then followed by human refinement, it drops content production costs by 40 to 60%.
Wait, 40 to 60%?
Yes, because you're eliminating the manual formatting, the cross-platform resizing, and, that initial blank page ideation phase where you just stare at a screen.
Right. Yeah.
The algorithm handles the volume, establishing a really strong baseline draft across the entire network.
I like to think of it like an analogy. It's less like hiring a new executive chef and much more like installing a highly efficient digital prep line.
Oh, I like that.
Right. The system chops all the vegetables, it perfectly portions the ingredients, and stages the plates.
Yeah.
But the franchise, the actual human being who knows the neighborhood,
Uh-huh.
still acts as the expediter.
Exactly.
They have to taste the dish and give it the final approval before it hits the table.
And that gap between the prep line and the final approval is where the entire industry is currently struggling. Yeah, the International Franchise Association released data showing that 87% of franchisees believe utilizing more AI would directly improve their marketing performance.
Okay, I have to stop you there. I really want to push back on the premise of that statistic.
Okay, go ahead.
We are living in a world where literally anyone can download an advanced AI app on their phone in 10 seconds. If 87% of franchisees actively want this technology and the consumer-grade software is universally available for, what, 20 bucks a month?
Right.
Why is implementation stalling out? Why aren't local operators just setting up their own ChatGPT accounts and running with it? It should be plug and play by now, shouldn't it?
Well, plugging consumer-grade AI into a multi-location network is exactly what creates shadow IT nightmares for a corporate brand.
Oh, shadow IT.
Yeah, when local operators use isolated, unsanctioned AI tools, they lack the central guardrails. They don't have the data privacy protections or the specific brand training data.
That makes sense.
So the barrier to adoption isn't access to the software. It is a total lack of structured governance. The sources identify that without practical support and comprehensive training from the franchisor, local operators will push out content that suffers from tone drift.
Tone drift. Okay, let's define the mechanics of tone drift because it sounds like a subtle issue, but the documentation treats it as a critical failure point.
Oh, it is.
What is actually happening to the content there?
So generative AI operates by predicting the next most statistically probable word based on its training data.
Right, it's just math.
Exactly. And unless it is strictly governed by a highly customized brand prompt, it just defaults to the mean. It produces a generic, sanitized output.
Aye.
Tone drift occurs when that AI-generated content bypasses human review and just goes live. You end up with a local brand suddenly sounding like a corporate textbook.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. Imagine a quick-service restaurant known for its snarky, casual voice suddenly publishing a Facebook post saying, "We strive to optimize your dining experience with synergistic flavor profiles."
Oh, man. That is so bad. It completely shatters the illusion of local connection.
Yep.
The customer instantly recognizes they are interacting with a bot, not, the business owner they see behind the counter every Tuesday.
And that loss of authenticity is catastrophic when you're dealing with reputation management.
Well, dealing with reviews.
Exactly. Consider the mechanism of responding to an online review. Imagine a customer leaves a heated complaint like, "My family ordered our usual Friday night pizza, but the crust was completely burned and the delivery took over an hour."
If you let a basic ungoverned AI handle that, it's just going to spit out boilerplate damage control.
Pretty much.
It's going to say, "We apologize that your experience did not meet our standard of excellence. Please contact our corporate customer service portal so we may investigate this anomaly."
Which enrages the customer even further. But a human franchisee, applying local context, responds entirely differently. They write, "Dave, I am so sorry about the burned pie on Friday. We had a brand new crew working the ovens during the rush, and we clearly missed the mark. I've already credited your account, and I will personally make sure your usual pepperoni order is perfect next time."
That is night and day.
It is. The AI cannot replicate the historical relationship with Dave or the knowledge of the new crew. This is why human judgment in marketing is a safeguard. It is not a bottleneck.
I love that framing. The AI accelerates the response time, it queues up the customer history, and it drafts the framework, but the human acts as the final safety mechanism.
Exactly.
But I mean, this introduces a massive scaling problem, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, if human oversight is strictly mandatory to prevent tone drift and protect the brand, how do you scale that oversight across a network of 500 locations? You can't just hire an army of middle managers just to proofread AI drafts all day.
No, you definitely can't.
That would immediately wipe out the 40 to 60% cost savings we just established.
Right, so you solve that scaling problem by upgrading the technology itself. You move beyond basic generative AI and implement agentic AI.
Agentic AI. That phrase pops up repeatedly in the sources, and frankly, it sounds like a rogue digital entity from a sci-fi thriller.
It does sound a bit scary.
Let's ground this. How does agentic AI functionally differ from the chat interfaces we are all used to playing with?
Okay, so basic generative AI is purely reactive. You supply a prompt, it returns a text output, and the interaction ends.
Right.
It is basically just an incredibly fast digital typewriter. But agentic AI platforms possess agency, meaning they are architected to autonomously execute multi-step workflows across completely disparate software systems.
Yeah.
Think of it as a digital nervous system for the franchise. The corporate headquarters acts as the brain, designing the master campaign. The agentic AI serves as the nervous system, transmitting that campaign to 500 local nodes, but automatically adapting the message at each node based on real-time environmental data. And it does this without needing manual input for every single adjustment.
Okay, give me a concrete example of those environmental data adjustments. Like, how is the AI actually making these decisions without a human clicking a button?
Sure. Let's say corporate launches a national promotion for a cold brew iced coffee. The agentic AI system interfaces with local weather APIs across the country.
Okay.
For locations in Florida experiencing a 90-degree heat wave, the system autonomously deploys the campaign at maximum ad spend, adjusting the copy to reference the local temperature.
Smart.
But for locations in Colorado experiencing a freak snowstorm, the agentic AI detects the weather anomaly, pauses the cold brew campaign locally, and swaps in an approved secondary campaign for hot lattes.
Wow.
It does this simultaneously across the network, checks the local inventory systems to ensure the Colorado stores actually have hot cups in stock, and then routes a final notification to the local operators.
So it really is operating like a hyper-competent, invisible middle manager.
Yes.
It pulls the localized data, it checks inventory compliance, adjusts the media spend, and executes the pivot.
And its operational impact extends far beyond just marketing copy. Multi-location brands are leveraging agentic AI to overhaul predictive analytics for site selection, too.
Real estate.
Yep. Instead of relying on static, outdated census data to decide where to open unit number 101, the system continuously scrapes real-time mobile device pings.
That's wild.
It maps the exact pedestrian traffic patterns between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m., overlays that with credit card transaction density in a specific neighborhood, evaluates the proximity of competitors, and generates a dynamic risk assessment model for the real estate team.
So it is actively mapping the expansion strategy by processing unstructured data sets that, frankly, a human analyst couldn't possibly parse manually.
Not a chance. And it's also transforming field support. Agentic systems monitor local health inspection reports, point-of-sale data, and online sentiment concurrently.
All at once.
All at once. If it detects that a specific location in Dallas has experienced a 12% drop in drive-through speed, combined with, say, 3 recent Yelp reviews mentioning dirty tables, the AI flags the anomaly, then it automatically schedules a targeted intervention for the regional field manager before the location experiences a catastrophic drop in revenue.
So the franchisor dramatically extends their operational visibility without having to drastically inflate their corporate headcount.
Precisely.
Okay, we have mapped out the massive capabilities of agentic networks, the reality of those 40 to 60% production savings, and the severe dangers of tone drift.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
For the listener trying to build a resilient strategy for their own organization, how do we distill this into an actionable playbook? What is the core operating principle they need to adopt?
Well, the foundational rule from the research is incredibly clear. Utilize AI to aggressively eliminate busy work, but rigorously keep humans in control of strategic relationships. The goal of automation in a local business is not to minimize human contact. The goal is to maximize the impact of human contact.
The sources outline a few highly specific workflows to illustrate this division of labor. Let's break down the mechanics of the sentiment analysis workflow. AI is tasked with parsing the unstructured data, right? Reading through thousands of Google reviews, social media comments, and internal survey responses across the entire network.
And the machine categorization is vital there. An agentic system doesn't just report that sentiment is down.
Because that's not helpful.
Exactly. It parses the data to reveal that 42 locations in the Pacific Northwest are experiencing a sudden spike in complaints, specifically mentioning lukewarm milk between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 a.m.
The AI spots the hidden pattern in the noise.
Yes.
But the human operator has to understand the context of the Pacific Northwest region, realize that, hey, a new supplier was onboarded last month, and make the strategic decision to revert to the old dairy vendor.
You nailed it. The machine flags the anomaly, the human executes the strategic pivot. And look at content scheduling. The AI drafts the localized copy, tags the appropriate images, and optimizes the posting schedule based on algorithmic engagement peaks.
Sure.
But a human being and the person who actually lives in the community must review the overarching strategy and guarantee the tone aligns with the brand's core values. The AI lacks empathy.
It does.
It cannot sense if a promotional post is tone deaf following a local tragedy. Only a human possesses that cultural awareness.
You cannot outsource empathy to a language model.
Exactly. Which brings us to the ultimate conclusion of this shift. The franchises that dominate the market over the next decade will not be the ones that boast the highest percentage of total automation.
No.
No. A race to 100% automation is a race to zero differentiation.
Oh, that's a great point.
The winners will be the organizations that successfully automate the tedious, repetitive execution and then deliberately reinvest the saved capital and time.
Reinvesting it into the physical reality of the business.
Right.
If the digital prep line is chopping the vegetables and plating the salads at lightning speed, the franchisee doesn't just go home early.
No way.
They step out of the kitchen, they walk into the dining room, and they spend that saved time actually talking to the guests, training their staff, and hosting community events.
They reinvest in the high-touch, localized human experiences that no algorithm can ever replicate. Technology handles the scale, but humans handle the connection.
In grasping the theory behind agentic workflows and the danger of tone drift is one thing, but actually architecting the governance structures and training a network of independent franchisees to adopt them, that is an entirely different battle.
It's the hardest part.
That implementation gap is where brands get stuck. And, this brings us back to the sponsor of today's deep dive, My BFF Social.
Right.
They specialize in partnering with franchise and growth stage brands to implement these exact AI-backed systems. They do not just hand you a software license and walk away.
Because that never works.
Never. They help you build the practical frameworks, establish the brand guardrails, and train your network so the operators actually use the tool safely. If your franchise is looking to elevate your marketing support and you want to deploy AI to streamline operations without eroding your brand's unique voice, you really need to bring in the experts. Reach out to them for help with your media, marketing, and advertising by visiting www.notmybffsocial.com back.
To close out our analysis today, I want to pose a theoretical scenario based on the trajectory of this technology.
Okay, let's hear it.
We have framed this entire discussion around the absolute necessity of human oversight to prevent tone drift and protect empathy.
Right.
But the technology is evolving exponentially. If we look, say, 5 years down the road, and agentic AI becomes sophisticated enough to flawlessly mimic your brand's unique quirks, perfectly ingest local community context, and eliminate tone drift entirely, what then remains as the true, irreplaceable differentiator for your local business?
Wow. If the machine can perfectly replicate the illusion of the human touch, what is the actual value of the human?
Exactly.
That is a phenomenal question to carry with you as you evaluate your long-term roadmap. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the consensus, keep adapting your strategies, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.